realize are odd. Number 1. Walmart. Say the word Walmart to anyone who is not American and you'll probably have some kind of reaction. To foreigners, Walmart is a mystical place where you can buy anything from diapers to guns to trampolines and anything in between, all in one place. It's odd for those who aren't familiar with the American store. And thanks to the People of Walmart internet phenomenon, people from all over the world now have a vision of American shoppers as complete weirdos in bizarre outfits. It also makes foreigners nervous of shopping there in case they find a photo of themselves online. Number 2. Cheese. There are all kinds of cheeses from all over the world that allow you to indulge in a range of flavors, textures, and mildness or strength in taste. In America, however, there is one cheese in particular that stands out from the crowd. It is often called cheddar and comes in powder form, aerosol can liquid form, perfect square plastic wrap form, out of a tube form, and all of this seems to be the norm. If you ask someone who was not used to eating this fake cheese what it was that they were eating, they probably wouldn't say cheddar cheese. Number 3. Pumpkin flavor. While the aerosol cheese at least has some kind of basis of cheese in it, the phenomenon of the pumpkin spice that rears its head in the US around November and December is really bizarre. It's a sweet flavor that really doesn't taste anything like pumpkin, and Americans put it in everything in the holiday season. Coffee, creamers, cookies, eggnog, and more. Of course, it seems obvious that this trend spawned from Thanksgiving and Christmas traditional pumpkin pie, and while it makes sense that people want to grip onto that holiday feeling, the rest of the world can't help but wonder, where's the pumpkin in that pumpkin spice? The spices and sugar are the only things that succeeded its reputation and took over the holiday season. Number 4. Extreme patriotism. There is a day when all the students at school would, in unison, sometimes with the help of a selected child over the intercom, recite the Pledge of Allegiance each and every morning. That morning ritual isn't quite as widely practiced anymore though, but the idea of pledging your allegiance to your country every morning really is odd to an outsider. Then there is the obsession with flags. US flags are proudly hosted absolutely everywhere. There really isn't anything wrong with the patriotism, but a sea of flags outside nearly every house in a suburban road just isn't the norm in any other country. Number 5. Coffee. Americans have coffee down to an art. It is everywhere and flows like water. Nowhere else in this world will you find such a plethora of different coffee-style drinks with flavors, sweeteners, whipped cream, pumpkin spices, the list goes on. Americans even made it into ice cream and shakes, and even dedicate a whole grocery store aisle to different flavored creamers. It's not just the fake stuff though. Any coffee retailer will boast a huge variety of special roast and decaf options too. And then of course there's the complimentary refill system. Sitting at a table for a cup of coffee that never ends is sadly unheard of in most other countries. Number 6. College allegiance. Only in America do you have the unique kind of school spirit that comes with each and every college. It's something that surpasses spirit or pride. College kids seem to be walking advertisements for their schools. School colors, banners, letters, you see them on hats, shirts, t-shirts, sweaters, even across the butts of sweatpants. And these are not even necessarily the sports kids, who would be slightly more inclined to represent their school off the game field as well as on. It's everyone. Moms sport the gear of their kids' chosen college and even stick bumper stickers on their cars. Number 7. Sweetbread. If you were born in America and have lived in the States for the majority of your life, you may not have realized how sickly sweet the bread is. We're not just talking about bread from McDonald's hamburger buns or other fast food chains, but all bread. Not even regular hot dog rolls or the humble sandwich loaf is spared. Visitors from other countries have likened the U.S. high fructose corn syrupy bread to cake. And of course, locals won't realize it because they're used to it. It seems that the best way to get unsweetened bread is to bake all your own. Number 8. Taxless prices. Americans get used to having to just round up whatever you're buying to make room for tax. But for most other countries, this is jaw-dropping. Not including taxes and prices? How confusing and odd is that? If you were in the United Kingdom and had exactly 10 pounds for lunch, and then went to the supermarket and put 10 pounds worth of items in your bag, guess what you'd expect to pay? Yup, 10 pounds. Including tax and prices may seem pretty normal to Americans, but anyone else would think it's not only strange, but really confusing and hard to manage. Number 9. Advertising lawyers. There aren't just some lawyer advertisements, there are loads. I bet if you stopped any American on the street and asked them to name a lawyer, any lawyer, not even their own or even someone who they've considered calling up for any reason, they could give you more than a few names. Lawyers are on TV, billboards, and the radio, letting you know that if you're ever in a car accident or spilt hot coffee in your lap, you can get professional help and get your money. Of course, there are lots of services that are advertised, but lawyers deserve special mention here. Number 10. Advertising medication. This is one thing that does seem really strange and doesn't seem to make all that much sense. In most countries, you'll see ads for over-the-counter medications for headaches, arthritis, the flu, etc. But in America, they advertise prescription medications. These ads tell you to talk to your doctor about a new prescription, but wouldn't you expect the doctor to tell patients what they should be taking, not the other way around? Certain medications require prescriptions for a reason, and you'd think that trained doctors would be the ones to make that call. Number 11. Sports. American sports are peculiar to outsiders across the board. Why do they call baseball the World Series when no one else in the world is playing? Why is it called football when there's hardly any foot-to-ball action in the game? And who is this team of half-dressed dancing girls trying to get me to yell stuff? Sure, we all know what a cheerleader is, but it seems odd when you're used to watching sporting events without this little bit of sexy injection of cheer. Then, of course, there's also the extremely confusing, elevated status of college football players that are likened to celebrities who have their own fans and interviews. In the rest of the world, college sportsmen are just that, college sportsmen. Number 12. Tipping. Tipping is everywhere in America, and it's also very confusing. Waiters in restaurants rely heavily on tips to supplement their wages, so even if the service was bad, they'll probably still get a tip. In Europe, on the other hand, waiters are paid a pretty good hourly wage in most places, and the tip is just that, a little something extra for a waiter who really went above and beyond. The amount is totally up to the customer. The American expectancy of tipping and what percentage of the bill it should be can be strange to those from the outside not used to dining in the US. Number 13. Portions. Supersize isn't even a big thing anymore. Almost any restaurant you go to in the US will have portions that are just so ridiculously huge that it's almost shameful. The US is fighting obesity, and if you were to be an outsider looking in at the average dining table, it seems pretty obvious why. The free refills on sugar-filled sodas is a start. It's not uncommon for people to drink 4 or 5 glasses of Coke in one sitting. It's also not uncommon to have multiple patties on burgers or macaroni and cheese as a side. To the rest of the world, a pasta dish is generally considered to be a meal on its own. Number 14. So much religion. The US is definitely a place where religion is pretty huge. There are churches everywhere. People are often knocking on your door with flyers that you will find shoved under the door if you ignored them and hid behind the couch until they left. There are lots of different churches and religions like everywhere in the world, but God is on bumper stickers, t-shirts, hats, etc. There are people wanting to spread their religion on every street corner in some places. Although you didn't realize it when you live in the US, to people coming in, the whole religion aspect of the culture has been known to be pretty intense. Number 15. The Christmas card. There are Christmas cards, and then there are American Christmas cards. Other places in the world that do send Christmas cards usually send a lovely little card with a tree or a star on the cover, with best wishes for the season to the recipient and their family. The US is the only place where you could open up an envelope, pull out your card, and have 8 pages fall to your feet, detailing all the accomplishments of all the children, grandchildren, cousins, and pets. As for the cheesy family photo Christmas cards, yeah, no other country does that. Number 16. doggy bags. Listen, if there are going to be such huge portions at restaurants, you better believe and hope that people are going to be taking home some of that food for another meal. This is something that a lot of other countries just don't do though. Maybe because they don't have the same amount of food on their plates, but it seems like taking food home is just not done in other cultures. In fact, some people visiting the States think it's kind of icky to take your uneaten food away with you. It must be better than throwing it all away though, right? Number 17. Beer in the gas station and drive-through liquor. It might seem odd to an American if someone walked into the gas station and exclaimed, "Whoa, they sell beer here?" But there have probably been billions of reactions like that from visiting foreigners. Most countries avoid putting alcohol in gas stations, and they certainly don't have the drive-through liquor stores, as it seems to enable drinking and driving. In other parts of the world, you can usually get wine from supermarkets, but have to head to designated liquor stores for beer and harder stuff. If Americans do anything well, it's convenience. Number 18. Driving through a red light. This is one of the road rules of America that has to be celebrated. It makes perfect sense to be able to turn right on a red light, treating it as a yield to the oncoming traffic that has a green light. It makes total sense to keep the roads moving and let people drive smartly and efficiently. When they try to drive responsibly, it works. People driving in the US for the first time, however, will do a double take and probably think that the locals are a bunch of rebellious, careless drivers when they see cars stopping briefly at a red light and then sailing through. Number 19. Money. All of the paper money is the same size and the same color. That's not very common. In fact, almost every other major currency has made their differing denominations of paper bills differ in style, color, and size. Which makes sense if you think of how easy it could be to confuse the dollars. When it comes to coins, the dime is physically a lot smaller than a nickel, which just seems bizarre since you automatically assume the size reflects the worth. Nowhere on a quarter does it actually state that it's worth 25 cents, which could be confusing to someone who doesn't know the money. Number 20. Washing clothes. Americans either have a full set consisting of a washer and a separate dryer or nothing at all, whereas in most other countries, the dryer is a rare commodity. People have washing machines, but they simply hang their washing out to dry. Outsiders are also confused by dryer sheets because they stick to liquid fabric softeners that basically do the same job. And for those city-dwelling Americans with no washing appliances whatsoever, those laundromats that are frequented are foreign concepts to outsiders. They're viewed as romanticized American things that are only seen in movies.